speech about sex education must be compulsory. Sex education is primarily taught to prevent students from future encounters with sexually transmitted infections and unwanted pregnancies, something that many high school students and even higher education students can face in their school years, making it an important part of student education. Many not know or realize it, but sex education is rather important. It's upsetting to see those numbers and realize some that the other country are skipped when it comes to proper sex education. Learning about sexually transmitted infection is not the only aspects of sex education. It can also include bodily development, sexuality, and relations. Sex is natural occurrence whether some people want to admit that or not. Sexual activity has its consequences and it's very important that students understand these consequences in order to prevent them using methods they learn throughout their sex education course. It is important because many girls at age 15 to 18 years old get pregnant so early. All young people need access to information and opportunities to think about questions and discuss issues related to relationships, gender, sexual identities, sexual orientation, sexual behavior, and reproductive health and societal message. Sex education in any nation's families is one of the key determinants of future stability. It is comprehensive and structured cycle of development that runs from infancy to adulthood. It is designed and driven to generate appropriate sexual attitudes, habits, and action in social and moral terms. Calderwood and Sloan, 1982. The sex problem in our society has a very devastating effect on the individual. This is not surprising given that there are many elderly people who had their perspective views on life. Despite Despite greater freedom in our culture to address gender and children's early development today, the introduction of sex education for adolescents would be considered too early. The introduction of proper sex education for our youth and teens eliminates many of the social problems we face. It is not impossible to overemphasize the need to teach sex education to junior school in the eager local government area. This is due to the influx into the city of people the different ethnic group. Sex education should therefore be given to children at any stage of development because the framework laid in the children's early life will decide their married life stability and value. According to the World Sexual Health Association, to achieve sexual health, all individuals, including teenagers, must have access to comprehensive sexuality education and information and resources on sexual health through the life cycle. Millennium Sexual Health for Sex education should be taught as a compulsory subject to improve knowledge of puberty and to avoid unintended pregnancies and sexually transmitted infections. Bill Cosby says, sex education in school may be a good idea, but I don't think the children should be given homework. While Cosby makes the situation clear, teaching young people about sex and sexuality is imperative to provide a comprehensive education experience. Sexual education. Sexual education is best described in the public school setting as education on human anatomy, reproduction, intercourse, and other human sexual behavior. Many high school and college students face unwanted pregnancies because they are not taught how to make healthy sex decisions. Sex education is necessary because kids have various questions about sex as they develop, which can significantly affect how they see themselves and others. Sex education should not be left only to parents to misinform or to lie to their children about medical facts. Morality has nothing to do with sex education when it is taught from a medical front of view. Students should be provided with accurate medically based information, a development level they can understand. It is not about teaching children how to have sex. It is about informing them about what is happening in their bodies and also teaching them to make safe, healthy choices as they grow up. The young individual or adolescents are more susceptible and in acquiring various sexually transmitted diseases. Hence, providing information to them at the right time would help them to lead a reproductively healthy life and also protect them from the myths and misconceptions about various sex-related issues. Systematically provided sex education will help students to learn about the process of reproduction and procreation. Sex education will dispel myths and provide them with correct knowledge. School students are going through many bodily changes, and here sex education will answer their questions about sexuality and changes in their bodies and thinking as well. Too many young people received confusing and conflicting information about relationship and sex as they make the transition from childhood to adulthood. It aims to equip children and young people with knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values that will empower them to realize their health, well-being, and dignity, develop respectful social and sexual relationships, consider how their choices affect their own well-being and that of others, and understand and ensure the protection of their rights throughout their lives. Sexual health education program should aim at increasing awareness and insight regarding physical, social, and psychological development. Sexual Sexual health education should seek the development of an individual sexuality and sexuality involves one total being and identity. In short, it includes physical, social, and psychological aspects of sex and sexuality. It will also create the power to make value judgment. Sexual health education will enable young people to become responsible in making decisions. Sexual health education will help the child to respect him or herself and others. Health education should help the young boys and girls to understand that each part of the body and each phase of growth is good and has a purpose. This will give holistic idea about human development simultaneously. It will help the young people to nurture a feeling that sex is something beautiful, positive, and is a creative of life. Sexual health education should help in the formation of an emotionally stable personality. By developing various skills, an individual will also become emotionally stable. Such an individual will be able to make rational decisions and will have judicious thinking. It will also prepare the adolescents to face the biological changes that would come about during puberty, such as menstruation, seminal emission, change of voice, enlargement of breast. Firstly, it is to educate students and youngsters that sexual activities can lead to pregnancy even if it is done only once. Secondly, it is to show that the influence of external factors can lead to sexual activities. Students should be shown that the inability to make good judgments as a result of drinking alcoholic beverages, smoking, and taking drugs can cause consented sex, rape, and unwanted pregnancies. Thirdly, to show that the penalties meted out on sexual offenders and abusers of children are to act as a deterrent to prevent further tragedy. Therefore, I conclude that sex education is important to us young people because it helps us to think about sex and avoid early pregnancies. Thank you.